Everything was going well. The connection felt real. The conversations became deeper. He opened up. You felt closer than ever. And then, suddenly, he changed. He became distant. Replies slowed. Energy dropped. Presence faded. This moment hurts not because of distance alone, but because it comes right after closeness. You ask yourself, what did I do wrong? Was it all fake? Did I imagine the connection? Psychology gives a different answer. Often, he pulls away not because closeness scared him, but because what closeness awakened inside him did. Closeness activates attachment, and fear comes with it. When emotional closeness forms, the attachment system activates. Attachment is not just romance. It is vulnerability, dependence, risk. For many men, especially emotionally guarded ones, closeness triggers old fears stored in the nervous system, not conscious thoughts. These fears include fear of losing control, fear of emotional dependency, fear of future responsibility, fear of being hurt or failing. Attachment theory, first developed by John Bowlby, explains that when attachment is activated, people respond in predictable ways based on their emotional history. Some move closer. Others pull away to feel safe again. Why the fear is invisible, even to him. This fear is rarely conscious. He is not sitting there thinking, I'm scared of love. Instead, his body reacts before his mind understands. His nervous system signals. This is too much. I'm losing emotional balance. I need space. So he withdraws, not because he doesn't care, but because his system is overloaded. This is why his behavior feels sudden and confusing. The shift happens internally first. Closeness threatens his identity. Many men are taught that strength equals independence. Love challenges that belief. Closeness introduces emotional reliance, accountability, the possibility of being needed. For a man who built his identity on self-sufficiency, closeness can feel like a threat to who he thinks he must be. Pulling away becomes a way to say, I still control myself. I'm not losing who I am. This is not emotional immaturity, it is identity protection. Why men don't talk about this fear? Men are rarely taught how to name emotional fear. They are taught to fix problems, control emotions, stay composed. So instead of saying, I'm overwhelmed by how close this feels, they say nothing. Silence becomes the language of fear they don't know how to express. The avoidant response to intimacy. For men with avoidant attachment patterns, intimacy triggers a deactivation response. This response includes emotional distancing, reduced communication, rationalizing the pullback, focusing on work, hobbies, or isolation. Avoidants associate closeness with loss of autonomy, often because early emotional closeness felt overwhelming, conditional, or unsafe. So when intimacy grows, their system responds by restoring distance. Not to hurt you, to calm themselves. Why it happens right after getting close. This timing is important. He doesn't pull away at the beginning, because there is no emotional risk yet. He pulls away after closeness, because that is when attachment becomes real. Closeness activates emotional investment, fear of loss, fear of commitment, fear of being seen fully. The closer he feels, the more vulnerable he becomes. Distance feels like safety. This is why reassurance sometimes makes it worse. When you sense distance, your instinct may be to ask for reassurance, seek clarity, increase emotional expression. But for someone whose fear is triggered by closeness, this can feel like pressure. Pressure tells his nervous system, I'm being pulled deeper. I don't have room to regulate. So he pulls back further. Not because you did something wrong, but because his fear hasn't settled yet. The difference between fear-based distance and disinterest. This distinction protects your self-worth. Fear-based distance looks like, he was consistent before. He opened up emotionally. He doesn't replace you quickly. He returns calmer after space. Disinterest looks like, minimal effort from the start. No emotional depth. No return after distance. Repeated emotional inconsistency. Patterns reveal truth, not single moments. Why chasing confirms his fear. When you chase someone who is pulling away due to fear, it confirms his internal belief. Closeness equals emotional pressure. This reinforces withdrawal. Calm presence without pursuit communicates safety. It says, I'm emotionally grounded. I don't collapse when space appears. I respect emotional timing. This often allows his fear to settle naturally. What actually makes him come back? He comes back when his nervous system calms. He regains emotional balance. He realizes the connection didn't trap him. He feels choice instead of obligation. Distance allows him to feel desire without panic. Closeness feels safer when it's chosen, not demanded. This is not an excuse for emotional unavailability. Important truth. Fear explains behavior, it does not excuse harm. If pulling away becomes repetitive, dismissive, emotionally destabilizing for you, a cycle without growth, then the issue is not fear alone, it is lack of emotional readiness. Love does not require you to abandon yourself. What healthy love looks like after the fear passes. When fear is processed, healthy love becomes more consistent, more intentional, more grounded, more emotionally present. A man who faces his fear does not disappear. He grows. The fear you never see. He pulls away not because closeness was wrong, but because closeness touched something unhealed. Fear hides behind silence. Distance hides behind confusion. And understanding this truth gives you power. Not to chase, not to fix, but to choose from a place of clarity instead of fear. Someone pulling away does not define your value. It reveals their emotional capacity at that moment. Stay grounded. Stay observant. Stay connected to yourself first. That is real emotional strength.